Welcome to this Strategic Masterclass Explainer. I'm your coach today, and we are stepping directly into the examiner's lens. We're decoding the exact step-by-step blueprint that Cambridge examiners use to grade your AS-level Afrikaans essays. Specifically, we're tearing apart paper 8679, focusing entirely on scientific, medical, and technological innovations. Now, I read the principal examiner reports every single year, and let me tell you, it is heartbreaking. Thousands of highly prepared students lose incredibly easy marks on these high-tariff essay topics. And it's not because they don't know the Afrikaans language. It's absolutely not because they don't understand the science. It's because they completely misunderstand the structural game the examiners are actually playing. Today, we are changing that narrative entirely. We are going to break down the exact assessment frameworks and theoretical foundations you need to secure those top-tier marking bands. Grab your digital highlighters because we are about to dissect complex questions, master your time allocation, and deploy critical thinking strategies like an elite Cambridge curriculum architect.
So, let's start with a massive question. Why do students find interpreting complex texts and data so unbelievably hard? Thousands of scholars walk into that exam hall having memorized lists of technological vocabulary, knowing all the current medical breakthroughs, and yet they get their paper back and they've scored a frustrating, middle-of-the-road band. Why does this happen? Well, let me tell you about two specific types of scholars I coach all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is our factual thinker. Highly technical, excels at formulas, knows every single data point about CRISPR or AI, but completely freezes up when asked to evaluate an open-ended ethical dilemma. Then, on the other side of the room, you have Sam. Sam is our creative thinker. Brilliant, flowing arguments, incredibly strong opinions on medical ethics, but Sam struggles terribly with structural precision, timing, and actually answering the specific prompt in front of them. Both Alex and Sam fail to interpret complex text correctly for the exact same reason. They lack a unified strategic blueprint.
The issue perfectly boils down to a battle between superficial breadth and analytical depth. The assessment framework is incredibly clear on this. Examiners ruthlessly prioritize logical, structured analytical depth over simply listing a superficial breadth of scattered facts. It is literally not about how many different medical inventions you can list in your Afrikaans essay. It is entirely about how deeply you can dissect just a few of them. And this requires mastering the anatomy of your command words. Listen closely, because this is where the marks are won or lost. When a prompt asks you to analyze, it is demanding that you break a complex topic down into its component parts. But when it asks you to evaluate, it wants you to actually judge the worth, the success, or the failure of those parts. If a prompt says explain, you simply provide reasons. But if it says to what extent, you must provide a balanced argument looking at multiple sides before rendering a definitive verdict. Superficial breadth completely ignores these command words. Analytical depth embraces them as the ultimate guide.
Now let's jump into a study session with our two scholars, Alex and Sam. They were recently debating how to deconstruct a massive 15-mark essay question on genetic engineering. Alex was pushing hard for a purely factual approach, just listing out the scientific timeline, basically hitting assessment objective 1, knowledge recall, out of the park. Sam, however, was arguing for a broader conceptual perspective, wanting to focus entirely on the societal arguments, aiming for assessment objective 3. I had to step in and say, guys, you are both missing the structural bridge, assessment objective 2, the actual application and analysis. The ultimate goal here is demonstrating a connected conceptual understanding that you can confidently transfer to entirely unfamiliar essay contexts. The exam board doesn't just want to know that you understand how a specific piece of medical technology works today. They want to see that you grasp the underlying economic and social concepts so deeply that if they throw a completely fictional or brand new technological scenario at you, you can apply the exact same rigorous analysis.
So how do we bridge that gap between Alex's facts and Sam's concepts? We build a precise theoretical architecture. Principal examiner reports explicitly highlight that candidates who construct their essays with 3 specific pillars unlock significantly higher marks. First up, precise definitions. Don't you dare just throw around a term like artificial intelligence or gene editing in your Afrikaans essay without explicitly defining its parameters within the context of your argument. Second, causal relationships. You must clearly show that because a certain event happened in the medical field, a specific measurable societal result followed. It's all about cause and effect. Finally, cross-topic connections. The absolute strongest essays link scientific advances back to entirely different syllabus areas, like economic disparity or environmental impact. If you can show how a breakthrough in technological innovation directly affects rural healthcare economies, you are demonstrating the exact high-level academic rigor the examiners are desperate to reward.
Okay, before we execute this analysis and jump into drafting an actual model response, I want to take a quick pause. If you are serious about crushing these exams, you need consistent strategy. I want you to take 1 second right now to hit that subscribe button for the channel Ace the Exams IGC SEO and A levels at the handle at acetheexam_IGCSE. Make sure you enable all notifications. Click that little bell icon so you literally never miss a weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategy like the one we're doing right now. Okay, let's get back to it. To guarantee you hit those technical academic benchmarks, you must process the text using my standardized procedural sequence. Step 1. Identify key elements. Grab your digital highlighter and isolate the exact command word. Step 2. Apply principles. Map out the specific medical or tech data you need. Step 3. Execute analysis. Hunt for the hidden constraints in the prompt. Step 4. Verify your logical results. And Step 5. Ensure your presentation format is absolutely flawless.
Never forget the method marks strategy. While drafting their model response on screen, Alex and Sam hit a massive roadblock. They completely stalled on paragraph linking and were running out of time. They started panicking, thinking that because their final conclusion was getting messy, they were going to fail. I had to pause their session and explain the cognitive strategy to get unstuck. Examiners want to see your clear working and analytical process. Even if your final deduction is slightly off the mark, showing your step-by-step working can absolutely save your grade. We rewrote their flawed section out loud together. Instead of just rushing to a forced conclusion, we visibly constructed the argument paragraph by paragraph, pros, cons, causal relationships. They transitioned from a mediocre, panicked answer to a flawless, full-mark response because they allowed the examiner to trace their logic. You get credit for the analytical journey, not just the destination.
Welcome to the interactive Pause and Practice Visual Workshop. Look at the complex graph on your screen right now showing the rapid adoption of telemedicine versus traditional clinic visits. Imagine a 60-second visual countdown timer has just started. How are you analyzing this? When dealing with data interpretation in the scientific and medical topic areas, you must evenly divide your strategic focus. A weak student spends 90% of their essay just extracting the data. In year 1 it was this, in year 2 it was that. No, that is an examiner's trap. Extracting information from text or tables is only 33% of the job. You must dedicate another 34% to interpreting the complex relationships. Why did that spike happen? What societal factors drove it? And then, the final 33% must be spent drawing evidence-based conclusions about what this means for the future. You have to maintain that exact balance to hit the top bands.
Now, let's talk about the silent killers of your grade: formatting and strict conventions. Presentation is not optional, my friends. You must adhere to proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotations to secure your technical marks. Think about it. If the prompt explicitly asks for a formal report on a technological advance, or a speech directed at a medical board, and you just write a standard, generic block text essay, you are going to be penalized heavily, no matter how good your Afrikaans is. You have to play the role. You must use the correct, high-level Afrikaans terminology for the scientific concepts and structure your text visually so the examiner can effortlessly navigate your analysis. Make it incredibly easy for them to give you the marks.
Let's look at how to conquer the highest tariff marking bands by escalating your writing up the ladder of higher-order objectives. You are moving from basic, descriptive summaries to elite, evaluative arguments. At the absolute bottom rung, you have descriptive writing. This is just summarizing what a piece of medical technology does. It's necessary to set the scene, sure, but it only gets you a passing grade. The next step up is analytical. This is where you explain how and why this technology impacts society. You are breaking the machine apart to see how the gears turn. But the absolute peak, the higher order objective that Cambridge examiners are practically begging to see, is evaluative. Evaluative writing means you are actively weighing alternatives, comparing different approaches, questioning assumptions, and making highly justified recommendations. In this specific paper, it means articulating these multi-layered impacts on different stakeholders while using precise academic Afrikaans.
And exactly how do you achieve that elite evaluative state? You use a comparative analysis matrix. This is what I call the paragraph balance formula. A top-tier comparative analysis requires you to actively identify both similarities and differences, binding them together with comparative connectives and rock-solid justified evidence. When you are comparing two medical approaches in your essay, you cannot just write one massive paragraph about solution A and a completely separate, disconnected paragraph about solution B. That's not evaluating. You must integrate them. You need to identify exactly where they overlap and where they diverge. Most importantly, you need to use sophisticated Afrikaans comparative connectives to transition seamlessly between these points within the same paragraph.
Every single comparison you make must be anchored by justified evidence from the source text or your own validated contextual knowledge.
Okay, we are entering Scene 2 of our interactive workshop, Spot the Flaw. We are now dissecting the top 3 danger zones reported directly by principal examiners. These are the real-world pitfalls that catch out even the most confident students every single year. The exam board actively publishes these reports to literally hand you the answers on what not to do, and yet students walk right into these traps blindly. If I were to put a poorly written student answer on the board right now, I guarantee you would spot at least one of these 3 errors. We are going to put these under the microscope so you can perfectly avoid them.
Let's systematically highlight and dissect these exact traps set by examiners. Danger zone number 1, the wrong approach for the context. This happens when a student has pre-memorized a generic essay about, say, the dangers of the internet and tries to forcefully shoehorn it into a highly specific prompt about the impact of biometric data collection on personal privacy. It completely fails. Danger zone number 2, forgetting format and presentation. We just talked about this, completely ignoring the conventions of a speech or a formal letter when the prompt specifically asks for it. And danger zone number 3, answers lacking specific context. If the prompt gives you a very specific scenario, like a technological innovation in an agricultural setting, and your answer discusses technology in a broad, generic, urban sense, you have totally failed to analyze the context. You must anchor your argument to the specific parameters the examiner has explicitly set for you.
So, the clock is ticking down, the pressure is on. How do you keep all of this straight? Before stepping into the exam hall, you have to use a visual story method to encode these technical concepts in your memory. Our brains are hardwired for narrative, not just bullet points on a page. I want you to synthesize this entire masterclass into 3 core, memorable pillars: the 3-step question scan, the paragraph balance formula, and the last 5 minutes review checklist. Visualize yourself walking into a high-tech medical lab. The security door you open requires you to scan the command words. That's your 3-step question scan. Inside the lab, you weigh the evidence on a perfectly balanced scale. That represents your paragraph balance formula. Finally, to exit the lab, you have to dodge 3 red laser tripwires on the floor, which represent the top 3 examiner danger zones on your last 5 minutes review checklist. If you encode this strategy visually, you won't panic under pressure. You will simply execute the blueprint.
Both Alex and Sam had massive personal breakthroughs using this exact session, moving from scattered thoughts to highly structured, top-tier analysis. As you prepare to crush your medical and scientific innovation essays, ask yourself, are you just reciting facts, or are you critically questioning assumptions, considering different perspectives, and justifying decisions like an elite Cambridge scholar? Crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, relentless strategy. You cannot do this alone. I need you to hit the subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE ONA levels at the handle @AceTheExam_IGCSE. Turn on that notification bell for future exam hacks, and right now leave a comment down below with your exact target grade. Put it out there, commit to it, and use the blueprint we just built to go get it.